1, I'm calling to order this special meeting of the City Council of the City of Bandera. All council members are present, our city administrator is present, our city secretary is present, and Marshal Will Dietrich is present. It's Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Item 3 is presentations. Presentation by Bruce Johansson on the salary survey. Mr. Johansson has had a family emergency, so council will move this to the April 5th meeting.
Okay.
Oh, visitors be heard. Well, did anybody sign up to speak?
No, ma'am.
I knew there was nobody signed up, so thank you. Okay. For discussion and possible action on following items. A, update on Heritage Park project by Roy Dugosh and any possible action that may need to be taken regarding the change of the project. Roy is not present, so.
I spoke to Mr. Dugosh, the individual that he had to assist him. His employees are no longer with him, so he has to get another contractor to do the project. So I asked him to come back to City Council with the recommendation on his new contractor, on who he would like to continue on with the project. So that's an update. No work to be done. No work has been done, and the contractor that he had identified is no longer in business. So he's coming back to council with a new recommendation. He'll be doing that himself.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, item B, discussion and possible action. Discussion on cost of living adjustment for employees.
And Mayor and Council, they asked me to do an organizational chart and so forth. So I was, one of the main things on my list before I planned to leave. I didn't plan to leave this early. However, but on the cost of living allowance, I was asking the city to consider giving a cost of living allowance to the staff and possibly put it into next year's budget. As we know, the inflation, the economy is going up. Some cities give cost of living allowance if they're not able to give a regular pay bonus allowance. They give a adjustment for the consumer price index that goes up every year in the economy, just to kind of keep up with daily regular costs. So if we're not able to give a 5% increase to all employees across the board, sometimes there's a baseline increase for cost of living, with the cost of expenses, supplies, and everything going up, especially now with the supply chain issues and the inflation in the economy. So I just want to bring that to City Council. We received some emails from different cities asking about cost of living and longevity. That's another, it's on the other item. And a lot of cities do give those type of adjustments. I know some cities by law, and even when I was in the military, it was like if there's a CPI, cost of living nationally went up 3%, there was a rule that you wouldn't go, they could go up to 1% below whatever the annual cost of living allowance was. So if the annual cost of living was 3% and the military got 2%, some organizations do that and some don't. So just wanted to bring that to the City Council's attention for consideration. It's just basically informational. Pretty much all this is informational for tonight because the budget season's coming up, so you can look at your budget and see what you have available, if anything, to make those adjustments.
Question or discussion on the cost of living allowance adjustment? Okey-dokey. Okay, item C, discussion and possible action on a resolution amending personnel policy regarding longevity pay. Longevity pay.
Right, longevity pay is another incentive that some cities give after, say, 12, 13 months at the city. Some cities give anywhere from, I'm saying, $2 to $5 per month to the employee for longevity pay. Just an incentive for them to continue to work here and continue to stay. A lot of times it is not awarded, but given at the end of December or end of the year for that particular year. So once again, some cities give that up to whatever the amount is set by the City Council. Sometimes it's like $10 a month, $5 a month, whatever the case is. And it's just another incentive to keep staff on board.
This item refers to a resolution. Dan did not present a resolution because we didn't really have any substance for the body of a resolution. Council, are you interested in acting on a longevity pay?
I would be.
I could ask Dan to draft us just a blank, fill in the blank resolution, and then you can decide whatever you wish. What it sounded kind of reasonable to me, $5 a month every, $5 a year for, no, $5 a month every year after 5 years, and then it'd be a lump sum to be paid at some point. Yes, Tony?
I would think that we would probably want to discuss it as a council before we go to Dan. And we could approve the resolution at a later time, but not bother him with the resolution until or unless we as a council decide we want to move
Well,
forward.
this is our opportunity to move forward and discuss it if you would like to carry on with
I know
that.
that, well, that's what I'm saying. You just said, is anybody interested in it? And I said, yes, but I don't think.
But it
I
seemed
think-
like the conversation stalled, is why I said that.
Right.
I put some emails in the packet
That's
when I
fine.
reached out to other cities, so you could kind of see what some of the other cities,
Yeah.
everyone that replied back, I put in the packet.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to table this item for further study. I didn't receive any of this until this afternoon, so I just glanced through a lot of this, and I need to have time to put thought into it.
Second, council? Is there a second, council?
Oh, I'll second that.
Christina, second.
So we can,
Discussion?
we can do it.
Well, I mean,
It's time to
I
do
guess
it.
we can,
I was
we can
thinking
still
we kind of
discuss.
Discuss it,
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Even,
well, now we can. So,
Yeah.
Well, I have a motion and a second on the table to table this item.
Right.
So we need to act on that before we go back to discussion. So do you want to table this item? All in favor? Jerry's in favor. All opposed? All opposed. Okay, back to conversation.
I wouldn't be opposed to tabling it after we discuss it a little bit. I
fine.
don't necessarily need to take action, but I would just like a little bit of clarification on the structure. If we're gonna be entertaining this at another meeting, just so I'm more clear. Because what I read in this statement, and so I'm looking for correction, I feel like I'm missing something. Employees will receive longevity pay of $10 per month for each year of continuous service. So they've worked here for 5 years. I'm just making something up. So they're gonna get $50 a month, right? $10 for each year.
No,
$10 per month. It says $10
per
per month
month for
for
each
a
year.
year.
Yeah. So it's $120 per year max.
Okay. Per year. What is this per year? No, I mean,
Okay.
12 months.
can you?
So we just,
Oh,
let me see if I can. So we determined that somebody meets the eligibility of longevity pay.
okay.
Whether that is 13 months, whether it's 5 years, whatever we decide.
Okay.
So once they hit that mark, they earn $10 a month from the time that they met that mark. They earn, say, $10 a month or $4 a month or whatever we decide, and it accumulates and we pay it for the year
Okay.
at the end of the year. So
So it's not $10 for every year that you've worked here.
No.
Okay.
It's $10
That's
per
what I
month.
read. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So we can decide at 13 months they earn longevity pay. So on the 14th is the first month that they earn. So say they earn it in March, right? So they get $10 a month until December. So March through December, and then in December we pay it out. Somebody else might have started earning in February.
Okay.
But in December we pay all longevity that's earned, and then the next year, because they've been here, then they get the full 12 months every year, whatever it is we accumulate.
So it just really maxes out at $120 a year for longevity.
If we choose $10, if we choose $4, then it's $48.
Okay.
If we, I mean, yeah.
So it never increases the longer you work here. 'Cause
Yes, it
that's-
does, per year.
One,
Every year that you're here, it's gonna increase, so if you're here for 5 years, it's 120 times 5, if you did the
That's
$10.
exactly what I was just saying.
Oh, okay, well then I misunderstood that.
Yeah, so that. it's
I thought they
$10
said
per month
no, and I
times
was-
12 was what I thought you were saying. $10 per month times 12 was 120 for 1 year. Yes.
Sure,
Cause that's
sure.
the incentive, the longer you're here, the more money you're gonna get
That's what I was
as a
looking for.
one-time,
I'm
yes.
sorry I
Okay.
didn't ask my
All right, I
question
missed
well,
that
I
last
guess.
part.
Darcy?
So my 2 cents to this would be, to start at 5 years. I don't think that longevity pay should start at like 13 months or whatever. I think you should start at 5 years. I know some places start like at 4 years, but my opinion is 5 years while we're discussing it. And I think that $10 is a lot. To me, I would say that $5, and then after 10 years, we could go up to $10. But that's my thoughts on it.
Jerry?
I also will agree with that. I think typically what you see is at 5 years. I have seen some 3s, I think, out there, but I would say that routine, typically it's 5 years. You start being eligible for that, and then you do get increases typically every 5 years to a little bit more. So I think it's reasonable to start out at $5 per month after 5 years employment, with the potential increase at 10 years.
And are we still on cost of living also, or are we just
No,
on,
we're
No,
on
longevity.
longevity, item C.
what'd we do with B?
It's just a recommendation to consider during budget.
I basically put the $10 on there just for easy math, so you could calculate it, and then I got the other cities, so that you could kinda see what other cities did, so.
Tony?
So I just wanna, so if we did this scenario, and somebody was here for 5 years, then they would accumulate, say, $5 a month. That would be, so 5 years, which is 60 months, times 5 is 300. So the first year they would get longevity pay would be $300, and then the next year it would be $360 because they would have been here another year, and then the next year it would be $420, $480, $540 at 9 years, $600 at 10 years, if or unless we go up
Correct.
from the
That's the way I'm
$5,
reading
then
it,
they would
yep.
accumulate something else. Okay. All right, thank you.
Jerry, you had your hand up?
Yeah, if we're considering that $5 per month at 5 years, should we go ahead and discuss at 10 years, 15 years, and on out at this point, right now?
I think if you're gonna put it into a resolution, you might as well do it, if you're gonna do it, that way we can do it all at one time.
I agree.
I would just think that I feel like I want to create a spreadsheet so I can see really what these numbers look like over time with different increases, just to kind of plug in,
That's
create
fair.
the formulas and plug in numbers for different scenarios. Yeah.
And I like that idea so that we have that visual in front of us. And I like the idea as well. I know I said it, but and I don't know that we want to go as far as doubling it, but I do think that after, have it at 5 years, I think we kind of have a consensus of that. Maybe start it at 5 years with the 5% or $5 a month. And then, after 10 years, I do think that you should go up. I understand that it's gonna go up incrementally year by year, but once you've been somewhere 10 years, and then, maybe we look at 15 years or 20 years bumping it up, I think that it should be increased more, maybe $7 a month or whatever. $10 would be a lot, but, maybe after the 20 years, you should be rewarded, richly, I think, after being somewhere 20 years, in one place, and I want to reward somebody for being here that long.
It's called retirement.
Yeah, some of us can't do that when we're still young and
At 20
beautiful.
years. But,
Even after 23 years.
So, I don't know if it's possible, but I would recommend for like people that were hired, in the middle of the year, that the following January 1st, we start the count, because it would make it a lot easier on accounting. That at the end of the year, we say anybody within, between 5 to 6 years gets this amount, anybody between 6, you know what I mean? For accounting purposes, it would be a lot easier for us to determine who gets paid what if we start the longevity pay once they meet the mark the following January.
I
And then
agree.
pay out that
I
next
think
year.
that makes more sense.
I would throw in there though, as long as they have 6 or more months within that year. So if somebody started like December 12th, we don't wanna pay them for that, you know. I mean, I guess it is only $5, but, you know.
I meant the following, like, once they meet their mark in that year, then they start accumulating January 1, and then they get paid that next December for a full year. So, that's,
Jill?
If you'd like, I can put a spreadsheet together of current employees with their hire date, and then do a spreadsheet that shows like how much they would get now if it was, and then 5 years, 10 years.
Maybe
And
leave
then
out,
bring that back to council with the.
maybe
next
leave out their
total.
names and just have the data, so
The
that,
data hire,
yeah.
so you'll know what like a realistic number would be for everybody. And then I can do like a range, like $5 at 3 years or at 5 years.
Jerry?
And would that go retroactive, I would assume, right? Is that,
Wait, I mean, I
guess
Yeah, I
that's the way to
think
put
so.
it, retroactive.
I
In
think
other
that's
words,
fair.
if somebody right now has been here for 7 years, are we going to now compensate them for that?
well, yeah.
I would
Put
say
it
yes,
on, yeah.
yeah.
So if you include that and those type of scenarios in there too, which I'm sure you can.
I'm gonna throw the elephant in the room. It says years of continuous service, so our longest employee doesn't have, I mean, the one that's been here the longest hasn't been continuous service.
Well,
Well, Will is actually the longest one.
Okay, then one of our employees. So, anyway, I'm just saying that if we wanna consider that the way it's typed up here, the continuous service,
I definitely say it has to be continuous.
okay. So,
Jerry?
I couldn't hear you real well. You feel that it should be continuous service?
I didn't say either way.
I do, I'll say that. I think it absolutely has to be continuous, that you, my opinion is that you don't, you know, work for 5 years, break service, go work for somewhere else, whether it's 6 weeks or 2 years, come back and get, you know, compensated, because the whole point is keeping them here and wanting them to be here and have that. I know in this circumstance that we're trying not to say that it wasn't that long of a break, but you can't make that distinction based off of one person. We've gotta look at the future too.
I agree
And
with that.
you wanna keep the knowledge here.
So are you saying to make the exception for one person?
No,
She's saying no.
I say we should not. I don't think we should ever make an exception for one person like that.
Jerry?
Those type of things are why I'd like to still have more time to think about it. If,
me too.
Well, we
I
obviously.
agree.
and see the numbers.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Yeah.
just so I don't think it's gonna be like huge numbers, but just
We
doing
hardly
rough math
retain
on it.
anybody longer than 3 years, so I don't think it's gonna be hardly any number at all.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
We've only got about 2 people that are gonna qualify.
There's a
Depends on how
positive
you
to
look at it.
everything, right?
Hopefully this will change. Hopefully this will change
There's
that.
so much room down the road.
Further discussion on this longevity situation, we'll have Jill do a spreadsheet, send it out as soon as you can, please, so we can have everybody look at it.
Do we want Jerry's motion back?
Now, Jerry, you'd like to represent your motion?
I couldn't hear you.
You'd like to represent your motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to table this item, till the next meeting.
Thank you.
A second.
Christine, further discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Okay, item D, discussion of possible action on approval of a resolution of a new job organizational structure recommended by the city administrator. Jerry?
Did you wanna talk first?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, first off, there's no resolution in this package.
I'm sorry, you said what? There's no resolution?
There's no resolution. Dan, We can approve the action and then we can present the resolution at the next meeting, but there's not a resolution in the packet. Dad was at 3 different cities and didn't get us a resolution for this.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution of a new job organizational structure recommended by the city administrator.
Have a second? Rebecca?
Second.
Been seconded, discussion?
So,
What?
how is,
Rebecca?
go ahead, Rebecca.
Is there anything that's really different on here than it was before?
Let's see.
Or did we just not have something that's formal? I'm not sure.
Yes, there's,
We didn't have one at all, right?
I'm trying to think of changes I made, it's been so long. So they asked me to make an organization chart when I got here. I got city council, mayor, city administrator, and then, do you remember the changes that we made together?
Well, that really glares at me. The mayor and the administrator, I think, should be on a parallel level because the administrator does not report to me. We work together and report to the council.
Okay.
Yes, Rebecca? Tony?
So I can tell you the changes. And no, that's not true. The mayor reports to city council. So is that what you said?
No, I said the administrator works with me.
Oh, that y'all
not
two should be on the
below me.
same
Side by
level.
side.
We should be side by
Okay.
side.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay, I understand that. So the city treasurer is changed, the fact that, we now have a clerk that supports the marshal's office, that's different. The seasonal park groundkeepers under public works, that's different. I mean, those are just the ones I see right off the
Okay,
bat.
right, right.
Yeah, so Allison was 20% under the marshal, so we put her under here, under the deputy clerk. Terry's the public works supervisor. He went from acting basically director to the public works supervisor when we hired Lance, brought him on.
And then what about,
We left code enforcement under law enforcement because Earl's doing a good job in that arena, and I thought it would be still appropriate and proper to have that office under law enforcement.
And then we broke out
And
the
And
order.
isn't there-
Or Willie Rose.
Yeah, and then we broke. I'm sorry.
and so shouldn't there be a dotted line, is Keely still doing permitting for that department, for the code enforcement?
Yes.
So should there be a dotted line from her to, or have something underneath him as a permitting clerk or whatever we call it? I don't know what it is, but,
She works there, but she don't technically report to him.
okay,
You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
my thought process on that.
Okay.
She assists him, but she don't technically report to him.
right, gotcha, okay, I see that.
Yeah.
Yes, and only 25% of Keely's salary comes from permitting, is that correct? Thank you. Gary?
This did look pretty much like what I remembered being talked about at least before. I will agree with the mayor and the administrator being at the same level, and everybody reports.
Okay, and we broke out. Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
No, sir. And we broke out the public works, water and wastewater department employees. We broke them out a little bit more. Other than that,
Oh, that's the operators.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I would just, oh, I'm sorry. Darcy, I read that.
Yes, Darcy?
I understand what y'all are saying about the mayor and the city administrator being on the same plane. However, if we do have it like that on the organizational chart, then it'll appear as though all of these folks that are now below the city administrator will also be reporting to the mayor.
That's exactly why I had my hand up.
Well, you didn't have your hand up,
Well,
but
I just-
I knew that's what you were gonna say. Also, so I don't like that, but there could be some sort of dotted line, or we could move the mayor over to the side if y'all would prefer or something. I'm fine with it the way that it is, but I would like to see also with the city secretary title, HR on there. But that's all I have.
Rebecca?
So I think I was just gonna say, if the mayor and administrator are side by side, just that branch going down to everybody else only comes
Under him.
from under that
Yeah,
box.
that's what I
Well,
was
why
gonna
don't we
say.
take the mayor? How are we gonna make it cohesive?
No, that,
Christine's got
These
it.
are just side by
that'll work.
side,
They just go,
and
yeah.
everything else below that. Just
Yeah,
stays
you
the
have no
same.
lines
Oh, okay.
going to you. The
Right.
lines will all,
Go
that
to
line
the
goes to
administrator. Okay,
David.
got it.
And you and David will just
Yeah,
be side
that
by
makes
side,
sense.
but
Just with me
nothing
out
will
here and
go
David up
flow
here.
into you. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
We're good at making stuff hard.
No, I think we're doing good.
So, given that, wait, you made a, sorry.
Rebecca?
You made a motion, didn't you?
We have a motion to
did.
approve.
And so now we've
So now I
discussed
gotta
some
put those
changes.
adjustments in there.
Can we just bring it back to the next meeting with the changes and with the resolution? Like kind of as a.
You could
we've
withdraw
just-
your motion and we could just move forward from there.
That sounds good.
Let's just do that. Yes, Jerry?
I would like to withdraw my previous motion.
Thank you. Rebecca?
I will
You
second
seconded it.
his withdrawal.
You just wanna, no, you just wanna not pursue it. You seconded it, you just don't wanna pursue it. Okay, then we'll be looking at this on
Right,
April the 5th.
Okay. Thanks,
With
Jerry.
those changes.
We have a preview of next week's meeting, next month's meeting.
Thank you for getting that done, David.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
So,
item
I-
E is approval of a
wait.
resolution removing David Jordan from all city bank accounts. Again, there's a
Okay,
wrong
we didn't take
resolution
a,
in
we
there.
didn't take a vote on that. Right?
Have
We
to.
just made a
We-
motion.
They let
we-
it die.
There's no motion.
Okay, well, I have one other question, because there was a comment regarding that she wanted HR to reflect in the city treasurer. And I
Yes,
highly disagree with that.
Secretary.
which
City
is-
secretary.
City secretary, I mean, but I disagree with that, because the whole point, we had a discussion, a specific discussion about outsourcing that possibly. And, in an HR department, so I don't think that that should be included in this org chart until we get that resolved. I'm saying, I mean, that's my opinion, but we haven't made that decision as a council.
Rebecca?
So, I don't necessarily disagree with Tony, other than as it is right now, that's where the role is, actually, like in reality. And so that kind of made me think, well, if things like this are gonna potentially change from time to time, or I
So
guess,
to me, it's a role, and
It's a
we don't
role.
have any other roles on here. We don't have floodplains coordinator, we don't have the traffic thing, I mean, that kind of goes to the Department of Public Works, so we don't have an actual position for HR that so to me, that shouldn't be on here at all. And if we do get one for that position, then it should go on there. But we don't have that position as a full-time employee,
no,
or even a part-time designated.
So you don't get paid separately for that, right, Jill? Or additionally for that, or, okay, then I'm fine with it not being on there.
David?
Excuse me, it's the city council, of course, will create a position for HR, and then, of course, it shows will. In the process of doing, the reason I said that, in the process of doing a salary survey, Mr. Johansson asked that question, if there was an HR person, and if I thought there should be an HR person for an organization this small. He said he didn't think so. Even if you get HR generalist, you're talking about $40,000 plus benefits. So if it's a financial concern, then that's what you're talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's up to council, of course, but you're right. There is no HR designated manpower position in the budget right now.
Right, but there's plenty of things that we do as a city that has to get done, that we assign those roles or those duties to. For instance, HR, we hire, fire, whatever, paperwork has to be done and filed. Some of it's done by the treasurer, which I think is that role. That role was done by our treasurer originally until we had a treasurer that was incompetent, and Jill stepped up and did that job. Incompetent in that role, anyway. And then we have other things like floodplain. I mean, there's stuff written in our ordinances that talk about roles that people do, like floodplains administrator. There's one that has to do with speed limits it's called a traffic something. I mean, there's roles that we do that fall within this stuff, and I would not consider it the same as like I mean, and this is just for clarification for future talk, but, you know, like Allison is a full-time employee that holds 2 jobs, and those 2 jobs are on here, and so she's, you know, but I mean, but neither of those are considered roles. They're considered 1 full-time employee for 2 part-time roles or jobs, right? So these things, and I brought this up to Suzanne a long time ago. Remember the email I'd sent you when we were trying to go through it? I mean, there's lots of things mentioned in our ordinances that do not they're not assigned to a position. They're just, and so I don't know, they just dangle out there, and I don't know how to handle those. And so I brought it up several times, and I agree that it should not be on here, but it's not something that we should dismiss. It's still something we need to handle.
It's
So.
something that's discussed with Dan, particularly the floodplain administrator and the traffic part, and, for the purposes of grant not grant admin, but grants, our engineering firm acts as our floodplain administrator. So the city does not have that role, that position, and it has fallen to the administrator, it has fallen to whoever just happened to step up, you know, so.
Right, because originally it was an administrator, and then somehow it got put on the Department of Public Works, and I don't know if any of that's in the ordinance anywhere, or how we
I
would
don't
know
think it is
that.
anymore.
But if we do that, if we designate it, then it needs to be stated somewhere, because
Well, and
people
it's
ask that
beyond
question
just-
all the time.
It's beyond just designated, there's courses they have to take, there's certifications they have to
Right,
get.
and them being the engineer, I would assume they're probably up to date
They
on
do,
all
they
that.
are all-
And so that takes the burden off of us as a city, but that's not the way our ordinance reads, so.
Correct.
And also, Bandera County, I spoke with Bank Rat, they have certified floodplain managers, and when we're submitting our grants, they said that we could use them as their, one of their individuals there, as their license to be able to support, to be listed as a certified floodplain manager, and a reference for us.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good resource for Earl too. Anybody that's submitting a permit for something, the first thing he should look at is it, you know, is the floodway plain, and if it isn't in that, then he needs to seek additional guidance. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, let's back up, we're still back up in the organizational chart. Do y'all want to entertain a motion to table?
Do we need one?
I don't believe we need
I
one.
don't think so either. We
There's
kind of
just
have
a
a
no action item,
consensus
and
on
move it to the next. Move it to
the
next.
changes, and then we'll get the resolution for it.
Let's just move on then. Again, E, approval of resolution removing David Jordan from all city bank accounts. You have the wrong resolution in your packet.
Do we have the right one?
You should have the right one by next week,
Will it be
hopefully.
the same number?
Ma'am?
Will it be the same number?
Well, there's a resolution for the personnel policy, amending, so that might have a different number, I don't
No.
know.
Okay.
What? Okay, if you'll read this resolution, this is one that we passed to create the bank account for the hot fund. So the second whereas says, to implement said recommendation, city council hereby does find that it is in the best interest of the city to authorize an opening of an account for the keeping of the city's hotel occupancy tax funds. And blah, 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 tax funds, and then it goes on to say the signatories. This is to open the hot tax
Okay.
fund and to get the signatures, it's the wrong one.
Okay. So,
Darcy,
Do we have to have the actual resolution to just make a motion to remove David from all the
no,
bank
we
accounts?
don't.
I mean,
I-
it's just creepy.
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you. Second? Jerry, thank you. We've never done resolutions before, we've always used minutes, and our attorneys advise we do a resolution in the end, that's what we do.
But we know the content of the resolution,
When
we've
he
got
gets
a
here.
motion and a table, and so
Okay, so we've got a motion, a second, discussion,
Darcy needs to stop reading my mind.
all in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Okay, item F, approval of a proposal from the Public Safety Solutions in the amount of $7,500 for vetting of all candidates for the position of city administrator. Rebecca,
I'd like to make a motion to approve
thank you.
the proposal from Public Safety Solutions for $7,500.
I'll second for discussion.
Thank you, Darcy. You'll see in their letter, this is the exact same fee they charged us before. Public Safety Solutions is the same firm, they've just formed a new LLC. Rebecca.
Okay, so I just wondered, was there no discussion of giving us the break on the price? And what Tony had mentioned with the,
Actually, I got it from her.
yeah,
Darcy.
okay.
Did we read the original contract and there was nothing in the contract that,
If you wanna see the contract, I can print it for you. This is standardized city, professional services contract that we use for all of this sort of thing. Rebecca.
Can you call him
I'm
Jerry?
sorry.
Yeah.
Jerry, go ahead.
It's all right, excuse me, go ahead. My idea is to take the applications that we've already had, one, contact those people and see if any of them are still interested, because a couple of them I was interested in prior. I would have liked to heard further from them. And then, in the meantime, you have some type of way of listing jobs online, don't you, for the
I
whole
already
state,
listed it
right?
on TML.
What, is that TML?
I've already listed it.
Okay. So, I don't see the point until we find out how many of those applicants might be interested, number one, and if we're still interested in any of them, too.
Rebecca first and then Tony.
I was just gonna ask if we could add language, like what was suggested before, to this proposal to protect us in the event that,
It happens
you know, we're in
again.
this situation again.
Shots fired, shots fired.
I will be talking to Dano about that.
Calling Tony.
Mhm.
Tony.
Yes, Tony.
So it's my understanding that, I mean, I didn't see any applications other than the top 3 that they did, right? So the applications, Jerry, that you're talking about were long before that?
No, I'm talking about the ones that they came up with.
The 3, and then we picked the top one, and then there were 2 left?
Right.
So you're talking about just those 2? Okay.
But open it back up for consideration
Well, I was just
of
gonna
any of
say,
them.
I might consider the second one, but the third one, I didn't think any of us were considering. So, to me, I
wouldn't
got the
consider the
impression that
second
none
one.
of us were considering number 3. When we,
And I can't remember I'm sorry. I can't remember the order of all that right now, to be upfront, but I thought there was one that some of us were interested in that didn't make it to that last round, and we kinda,
And that's
I
what
thought
I'm-
I heard comments that they were kinda interested. Is that the number 2 you're talking about?
well,
or-
what I'm saying is I didn't see any applications that they did except for their top 3.
What am
We
I
saw
thinking
no,
about then?
I think you might be thinking of the round that
The
we
round
did with,
before.
when we hired Terry Bird and we did it ourselves. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
I
No,
think that
might
might
be.
be what you're
I
thinking.
bet
It could've been.
And
Could've
so, that was a significant amount of time. I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't contact those people and tell them we're searching again and let them know this process, because the benefit of this process is that they're knowledgeable, they take the time to talk to them. Like David said, it was a good experience for him. They call the references, and then they rank them. Then they have people interview them and rank them, file them, and kind of give them to us as their opinion. And to me, that takes a lot off of us, because it takes a lot of us to have to meet as a board. You know what I mean? Because we can't discuss anything out of the board. We have to do it as a group. And and most of the time we can't do it during working hours, so we can't be calling references together. And so, to me, it just makes sense to have this be done at a different level. But that doesn't mean we can't help them. So.
I agree. Rebecca?
I can't tell you just right this second how many times I've been on this council. We've hired city administrators, and there have been some variations of processes. and this was by far the best process I've ever experienced, and it produced the best result I've ever experienced with this gentleman here. And I don't hesitate for a second. I mean, I do wish we weren't paying the same amount of money that we just paid, you know, that they would be a little bit reasonable and work with us there, but I fully support moving in this direction.
Darcy?
I think we should just take it out of Jill's pay and go on.
Jill didn't fire him.
I was just gonna shoot at somebody else sitting over there instead
So
of David.
For the record, all the applications do come to me through TML that were sent to them. So I do have all of the applications, so when they come in, I just forward them to Max Westbrook, and then they vet them from there. So I have all the applications that have ever come in,
Can
because
we
it's
tell
a
you which
record
one
and I have
not to
people,
forward?
so.
Right.
So, I mean, I wouldn't mind, you know, sending those in to them again.
And I have reposted and I've gotten 2 applications.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think we did that, like, as soon as you knew, we posted it out there, right? As soon as you let us know it
Yeah,
was,
that same
it's
day.
been out there pretty quick, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to hear if anyone's interested enough to at least contact, we'll call it person number 2, just to see if that person's still in the
I
running.
do not like that person at all. And I've only heard worse after. But she said she's already gotten 2 more applicants. Maybe we check into them before we go.
That's really all I'm getting at. Could we just at least look at what we have, contact them, see if everybody's in agreement, pursuing further before we go out and spend $7,500 when they very well may end up with the same people that we could have elected on our own. And I'm trying not to sound cheap here, but now it's $15,000 that we paid for a new administrator, not $7,500. We'll be in for $15,000. Just to finally get an administrator. Not that you don't count. You know what I'm getting at, I think.
I really think it's money well spent, because we dragged through hours and hours and hours of discussions and disagreements, and I would much rather, if you wish, council, contact these applicants and then send them on to be vetted and either yay or nay and brought to us, but I think this is
We've
money
wasted
very
more.
well
We've
spent.
wasted more money in indecisions than we need to. I think it was a good process. They took the cream of the crop and they called all the references and vetted them, and you know, we pay a percentage of the hiring. Is that right? The salary that is that what comes? Is it a percentage of?
We pay
Or is it a
just
flat
this-
fee?
Just this flat fee.
I think it's money well spent. I think
I do too.
people have.
So let's go on and vote on this. I think everybody's opinions are out there. The motion is to enter into an agreement with Public Safety Solutions in the amount of $7,500 for the vetting of candidates for the position of city administrator. All in favor? Darcy, Tony, Christine, Rebecca in favor, all opposed, Jerry's opposed. Thank you, Jerry, and I understand what you're saying, but I just don't see all the agony
Yeah,
that you have to go
I
through to
did-
get there.
I
All right, the
appreciate
last
that, too.
item G, discussion and possible action on approving an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 budget, transferring $416,831 from bank account 33553 general fund to bank account 2353 street CIP for year 2 of the maintenance project. Jerry?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to approve the ordinance amending the 2021-2022 budget, transferring $416,831 from bank account 33553 general fund to bank account 2353 street CIP for year 2 of the street maintenance project.
Thank you. Second, Rebecca? Second. Okay. For your information, council, there is $740,000 in that account right now. So this will pay for our second year of street and still leave us more in the reserves, and that's not counting our other funds, so.
Is that gonna get Rilla's street fixed?
Ma'am?
Is that getting Rilla's street fixed?
It does, second year,
Thank you, Jesus. Okay, yes.
if I'm remembering correctly.
All in
It's on
favor? Is there further
Wait.
discussion, council?
Wait, yeah. And in this, we're gonna get the striping done
Yes,
in front of the
ma'am, we
middle
are.
school? Okay.
Because there was $40,000 left last year that we came in under budget, so we're just letting that slide around in there, and when they set up to come out to do the striping this year, it's cheaper to have them do it then than to
Right.
come out and set up to do just the school crossings on 11th Street is what we're discussing.
Yes, there's no
Do the
crossings in
striping.
front of the middle school.
Why didn't you
Yeah, other
do it?
thoughts on that
Don't
too,
even
and
worry
this
on
is for another discussion. But if you look at some of our roads that are on the 7-year, such
But
as
this
third.
is just about the ordinance, let's not get into all that, please.
Okay, I didn't know if we could discuss any
It's
further
the
on it.
ordinance to get
Okay.
year 2 paid for.
I'll go with that.
All in favor? All in
Yes.
favor, none opposed. Thank you,
Somebody call
council.
Rilla.
Item 5 is adjourned. Do I have a motion? Darcy makes a motion, Jerry seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor. 6:16.